Can you hear me? Shalom, shalom. I pray everyone is doing well this morning or this afternoon or whatever time zone you're watching this from. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm glad everybody was able to join. Other people are trickling in. This is going to be a very in-depth presentation. So the weightiness of this topic is something that I really want you all to consider. And if possible, I hope that you have notes prepared, or excuse me, something to take notes so that you can test these things and see if they be true. That's our responsibility, right? You don't have to take anything that anyone says on here for face value. Investigate. But there's a lot of information that's going to be brought forth. All right, so I'm gonna open it up with a quick prayer. I think this is very appropriate for what we're dealing with today. Most High, El Shaddai, El Elyon, creator of heaven and earth, and the entirety of the universe. We come before you in the name of your beloved son, Yahusha, who is Hamashiach. And we thank you for this day. We thank you for allowing the listeners to be here, that you have given them an inquisitive mind, an inquisitive spirit, that they may come onto this broadcast, hear what's being spoken, and investigate if these things are true. Most High, allow myself and my guest Moreh NuriYahu remove us from the equation and let whatever is being presented speak for itself. Most High, we give you all the praise, honor, and glory in all things. And in the name of your son, Yahusha, who is Hamashiach, we pray. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Okay, so this is the type of lesson that can be provocative, but there is no provocation for the sake of provocation. This is a serious matter. It's serious because it impacts our obedience. Can y'all hear me in the chat? Okay. No. All right, sorry
They
about
can
that. I
hear
just
you.
want to make sure that everyone can hear. It'll be pretty fruitless if I'm saying all these things and Moreh NuriYahu is saying all these things and it's for nothing. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I am, for those who don't know, I'm Moreh Amir, and I'm approaching, if not already there, I don't have a calendar marked, but my 10 years in this walk. And I came into this walk out of leaving Christianity, and I joined my first assembly, and I essentially began to do the things that were established before me. So I didn't go into this thing trying to change the will. I saw what was being done, and I went and proceeded to follow these actions of those who were walking this walk out before me. This is a concept in psychology called social proof. And with this, it's important to understand that social proof can be good, it can be bad. It just really depends on the scenario. So for me, I come into this walk and I see people dressed in a certain way, see people keeping certain holy days, not keeping certain things. So you just sort of kind of navigate the waters. Um, but what happens in the midst of this, even as one expands his mind and develops his own identity, what tends to happen with this is that blind spots begin to get created unbeknownst to the individual. So you begin to tuck certain things in the back of your mind and develop these preconceived notions that this is how things are supposed to be. And what happens because of those preconceived notions brought to you by social proof, you will begin to read things into the text. So you can see something there and you will ignore what it says due to the fact that you already believe you understand. And without a thorough examination of any practice that we are doing as keepers of Torah, without a thorough investigation to see if this is appropriate, we can continue down a cycle of habitually operating outside of the parameters um, if we are not careful. So, what we want to do today is sort of just identify whether or not we are operating within the parameters of the Most High, or have we fell victims to this social proof and we are doing things that we are not supposed to be doing. And this is important because if this is something that we're not supposed to do, imagine people traveling from California to Atlanta for a feast, or vice versa, or to somewhere in Florida. You know how we do. So if we are operating outside the parameters, this means groups of people would be congregating to do things that would be against the will of the Most High, if these things are true. If the text says that we are not, and if we are, then are we doing these things to the best of our ability as accurate and culturally responsible as we can? So that's what we want to get in. I'm going to open up the floor to Moreh NuriYahu, allow him to introduce himself, and we will get this thing started.
All right. Hallelujah. Toda Rabah. Moreh, can everybody hear me as I am broadcasting live from Ghana? So if you can hear me in the comment section, let's do it like we used to do it in the Pal Talk days. Type 1 if you can hear me. Can you hear the brother? Am I coming in loud and clear? I want to let everybody know that because I am in Western Africa, internet service every now and then can get a bit sketchy. And I think if you can hear me, okay. Yeah, it seems like there's a 20-second or more audio delay there, Moreh, on my end. On my end. All right, hallelujah. My brothers and my sisters, I want to first Thank Yahweh HaKadosh Israel, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, whose name was changed to Israel. I want to greet our elders, elder men, elder women, our leaders from whatever respective Israelite world that you're from, all Torah obedient believers in Yahushua HaMashiach. I am thrilled, to say the least, to have this opportunity to discuss something that a little over 5 years ago just continued to echo in my mind and my spirit. What I'm going to do before we get into the crux of the subject is I'm going to formally introduce myself. As you heard Moreh give you my name, but I'm going to give you some background. I am Moreh NuriYahu, Ben Lewi, son of Levi. I believe I'm from the tribe of Levi. Could be wrong, but that's my current belief. I've known as of this coming November, Yah willing, that I am a true biblical Hebrew, an Israelite, for 33 years. Did everybody hear what I said? 33 years I've known as of November, I'm an Israelite. I'm from Chicago, born and raised. I learned in November of 1992. I want everybody to type 1992 for me. Type 1992. This part of the presentation is interactive. We're going to shift after my testimony to a part where it's the presentation and it's going to be direct. We are going to have a dedicated question and answer session at the end of this. I know that we are all from different social, economic worlds, backgrounds, and most definitely, many of us are from different Israelite experiences. I learned, thank you, Torah Rabbah. See, this is my way of knowing that you all are engaged. I want you to be clear that this is not going to just be a talking at you. We have been advertising this for almost a week. And one of the key things that we've asked people to do is when you come today, if you don't have it with you right now, please get your scriptures, get your Bible. It doesn't even matter what the name of yours is. The only thing is amongst the children of Israel, get that. Make sure you have something to take notes in, highlighter and all that. If you have a concordance, Strong's or Vine's expository concordance, please get that. All your study materials. Because many of us who are former Christians or former Muslims, we say that, the days when we left organized religion started by man, those days where we just sat and listened to someone without being able to follow comprehensively, many of us state that time is over. I want to make sure that you're clear as you're listening to me today. Make sure you continue that. In the 33 years that I've known that I'm a true biblical Hebrew, a true biblical Israelite, I learned when I was 28. I'm 61 years old right now. I have seen in this world that we're in, Israelite brothers and sisters wake up to the knowledge of who we are. Many of us call that the awakening now. There's nothing wrong with that, but always remember, many of us were awakened before you were. And in the context of awakening, many of us didn't fully understand that this awakening, no matter how long you've known or how short the period of time, is in stages. I'll say to you again, in November, it'll be 33 years. I want you to ask yourself, Moreh Amir, what were you doing 32 and a half years ago, my brother?
I was in elementary school.
Huh?
I was in elementary school.
Like what, 5, grade 6, 4?
Maybe about 4th grade. Yeah, it was No, you said.
Did you get my point?
Man, I was maybe in 2nd grade. I was about 2nd grade.
2nd grade. When you all understand what Moreh Amir just said, that when I learned I was an Israelite, he was in second grade. So I want you to simply subtract 32 and a half years from your age right now. What were you doing at that particular point? That's when I began to learn. And I am telling you, as Yah lives and he's merciful to us, that many of us didn't understand that the growth process, sometimes, yes, it can happen in spurts and you have an understanding towards proper, accurate application. But many of us, in understanding, we understand where we are in our development, the things that we have been taught, self, or if we are a part of organized, structured, acknowledged congregations. When I learned I was an Israelite in November of 1992, this is that testimony part. You got to hear this. You got to hear me about this before we get into any chapter and verse. I sit here before you as a former Sunni Muslim. I was not a Christian when I learned I was an Israelite, as many of us have had that experience. I was a Muslim. I did everything in Islam except go to Mecca, prayer 5 times a day and everything else, going to the mosque or masjid. I did all that. Before I was a traditional Orthodox Muslim, I was a member of the Nation of Islam in Chicago, Louis Farrakhan. I ceased to be a Christian in actions, overt, let's say 1989-ish or so. But I can tell you that I brought a lot of that Christian Islamic traditional mindset in terms of how you're socialized into the Israelite world. And I submit to you, I guarantee you that you've done the same thing if you're honest with yourself. Today, we of necessity are going to deep dive, as Moreh Amir said, but we're going to do what I have termed for the past 7 years, going on 7 years since I left the United States in September of 2018, a critical reassessment. I'd like you all to type those 2 words in caps. Critical reassessment. Can y'all see the board? Moreh, is this coming in clear? Is it turned around or does it say to feast or not to feast?
It says to feast or not to feast. I can see it.
Hallelujah. Because on my side, it's like it's turned around in perfect. We're going to be using the board at different times today, brothers and sisters, because we might be in here 3 to 4 hours. It's going to be that type of presentation. It's going to be that type of presentation. But I want you, this is a part of making sure that you are engaged. I want you to write these 2 words. Critical reassessment.
Don't spell it wrong. Google it if you got to.
Yeah, because I think I probably spelled it wrong. Now, here in Ghana, 4:28, sun's going to be going down about another hour and a half, almost 2 hours, so it might be a little glare. So just please bear with me. Critical reassessment. How do we define critical, brothers and sisters? What is critical? You hear about in critical condition for someone who's been injured. We hear sometimes that a thing in terms of understanding is critical, that we have a certain understanding of something. But what does the word critical in the context of the word reassessment mean? Before we even talk about reassessing anything, what does it mean to have an assessment? If I assess something. So let's imagine right now that my assessment as a Hebrew, as an Israelite, who I believe I'm from the tribe of Levi, my assessment is that everything I've read, chapter and verse, points without question to who the true biblical children of Israel are. But many of us, in that stage of being raised out of our graves, you remember Ezekiel, Yechezkel, chapter 37, he couldn't even recognize his own people. Did y'all hear what I said? He could not recognize us. Before we get to the graves, he didn't even know what he was looking at. Meaning, that though we were still alive, we were dead. And this is a physical Hebrew, an Israelite from the tribe of Levi, because it says Ezekiel the priest. So, critical reassessment of what we understand about what is commonly called amongst Israelites the feast days. Moreh, Amir, and I, we put that out there because we know a lot of us refer to the Feast of Unleavened Bread, Feast of Weeks, Feast of Tabernacles as the feast days. In my early days, we called it feast days, holy days. But as some of us, I'm one of those, began to study more and get involved, Lashon Ibrit, in the language of Hebrew, we began to refer to it as set or appointed times, or Moadim. Moed, singular, Moadim, or Moadeh, plural. What does Moed mean? In the first congregation that I was blessed to not only be a part of, but be a founder of, which doesn't exist in that same form, we had Bible class starting in the back of a bookstore that was on the west side of Chicago. That bookstore don't even exist anymore. We were blessed to open up our own place, our first storefront, in March-ish or so of 1993. Everybody type March 1993. March 1993. This young man at the time, well, I was 28 plus years old. In March of 1993, I had two basic or primary morim or teachers that were the leaders of our Beit Knesset, or house of assembly, or congregation. The name of our congregation at that time was Yeshurun Beit El. Okay? We didn't know much about the Hebrew language. In those days, there was no internet. You hear what I said, Moreh Amir? In 1993 of March, there was no internet. So a lot of us in this day, we fundamentally don't understand what it means to actually study. I'm talking about hours, hundreds, thousands of man, woman, child hours. I submit to you that this is what we did. Our congregation, and in the 7 days of the week, we were open for class, different types of class, 5 to 6 days a week. Did y'all hear what I said? 5 to 6 days a week. Because our leadership, though they were Illinois State Police and they were always on duty, they were committed to teaching former Muslims, former Christians, former or current gang members, or elder, younger, teaching us who we are. Coupled with teaching us who we are, they shared with us the understanding they had at the time to the best of their ability. The understanding, April 1993, of Passover. Okay? I was taught in my early days of knowing I'm an Israelite that Passover, by well-intentioned, sincere men, Passover was an 8-day thing. Because we are dependent at that time on English. And we didn't know, even though we had Exodus chapter 12, 12 in front of us, we didn't know how to make that distinction. So for us, Passover was a holy day. We took off work. Then we got ready for the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So effectively, everybody typed the number 8. Effectively, I was a part of a congregation in 1993 because where we were in our understanding, development, 8 days. Now one might say, well, how did y'all get 8? It's because we merged from a traditional vantage point, because there's heavy Israelite tradition that's passed down to younger, brand new in the knowledge of who we are, Israelites. And by younger, you can be 50 years old and be brand new to the knowledge of who we are. So the tradition at the time for many Israelites was an 8-day thing. Did y'all hear what I said? Now, for some of you all, because you've been blessed to learn better, and it didn't take you as long as it took us. Again, we didn't learn better because we had the internet. We committed to study about a topic. Because there's one thing to be zealous and impassioned and telling the world who the true children of Israel are. It's another thing to be serving God according to what Yah has commanded and what we call the body of those works as Torah. I want you all to type capital letters Torah, Torah. The simple definition of Torah is one word: instruction. The Torah is comprised not just of commandments, as it were, because everything in Torah are commandments. Do, don't do, and how, thus, and so. But you have what's called statutes and judgments and ordinances, even though statutes and ordinances is the same Hebrew word. But what is a judgment? Are there certain things in Torah that you can only do in the land of Israel? Are there certain things in Torah that are universal, that can be done wherever you are on the face of the earth? Yes. Now, don't ask me how long it took me to understand that, or members of our congregation, but see, a lot of y'all are blessed and you just don't understand it. Because many of us who came years before you and we made some critical mistakes, Yah had mercy. We were not killed. We didn't die in our sin, not to my knowledge at least, because he knew that we were going to persevere. And now I'm going to remove myself from that context of we, and I'm going to talk to you about Moreh and NuriYahu. My first Passover, which was a combination of Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread. Chicago was well known for the slaughterhouses that were on the south side of Chicago. Now, the law says, Moreh, if I'm not mistaken, you do something on the 10th day. This is all Exodus 12. And then you keep something up to the 14th day, right? And then it's got to be killed and thus and so. And, you know, you start eating something at the beginning of the 15th day, and you eat this something, lamb or goat, bitter herbs and unleavened bread. And you eat this unleavened bread at the beginning of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You eat it for 7 days, but before the Feast of Unleavened Bread comes, you have removed everything called leavening agents from your house. Is that right?
You're spot on.
So now, are you witnessing how easy I can just let that flow? Because it's been almost 33 years. And after a while, it just becomes like that, believe me. So we had a 1-year-old male lamb that we went to a slaughterhouse on the west side of Chicago, south side of Chicago, purchased one. Well, like 250, this boy was big, like 250, 270 pounds or so. Next, they had on staff, and I shared this with Moreh Amir, and Moreh, I think you laughed at me when I said it, but it's true. They had on staff an Orthodox Jewish rabbi, because the north side of Chicago has a huge Orthodox, no matter the sect of Orthodoxy, Jewish population. So, because I was there, this Orthodox Jewish rabbi, we employed him and, you know, hung up this big 1-year-old male lamb without spot, without blemish, and he cut the throat, blood came out and everything like that. We were like, ooh. So then the older, our teachers, and there was another brother who was from another Israelite experience, they had already gotten 2 metal garbage cans. We who are from the north or Midwest of Chicago, you know, there's a time before the current garbage cans, which are plastic, all garbage cans were metal. Well, they cut open 2 garbage cans, soldered it together, because this thing was that big, and start cooking this thing at a certain time on what we thought was the 14th day. At this time, by April of 1993, Moreh and NuriYahu had become a vegan. Everybody type the word vegan, V-E-G-A-N. Please type that word for me, please. Just want to talk to y'all. We are asking Moreh and I, for your patience. I've been waiting years to give the whole witness. Y'all gonna hear it today. You're gonna learn that the Father is merciful. You know in your own respect, but I sit before you 61 years old, and I'm talking to you right now about a 28-year-old who was simply going according to the leadership, who thought they understood and did the best they could for us. Did you hear what I said? I want
Yes,
to make
sir.
it perfectly clear. I am not reproaching. I am not shaming. I am not indicting. I'm not casting stones or aspersions at any of our leaders in those days. Any of our leaders now who don't know any better. And I got to say that because by the time we finish today, if you are a member of a congregation and not in a leadership position, but your leader, quote unquote, Moreh, or Morah, they're not present, you got to have some serious questions. Y'all got to have a conversation. So I was vegan at that particular time. I just become a vegan a month earlier. Would you believe me if I told you when that lamb got done and everything, we sat down, we got lambs, we had lamb and goat, but everybody wanted some of that lamb, Moreh, Amir, because that lamb, boy,
Yeah.
that stuff was smelling so good out there on that grill. We was like, woo, my goodness. I was like, well, I'm a vegan, but the law says, it said you got to eat the lamb, right? So
Yes, sir.
I ate the lamb. Now, I was constipated for about a week after that. I ain't gonna lie. It was rough because my system had already started adapting to not eating meat. Here's my point. Would y'all believe me if I told you that out of that like 260 plus pounds of meat, we had about 60 something people that night? Moreh, we had about 100 plus pounds of meat left, plus the fat, because this boy was hefty.
Mm.
Hey, I'm zealous for the law because the law said anything that left till the morning, you got to burn it. Ain't that what it say?
That's what it said.
Well, here I am, Moreh. I don't even know I'm an Israelite for a whole year. And the leaders are like, well, this young brother, he kind of, because I'm doing a lot of studying and research and I'm stepping up in the congregation, helping, not trying to lead, but helping. And I was like, hey, I'll take care of that meat. I'm going to go, hey, I'll burn that stuff. So I had me, Moreh, I had me some lighter fluid that you light, charcoal briquettes with when you're trying to barbecue. Now, mind you, we got a storefront. And those from Chicago, the Midwest, behind certain storefronts where you got apartments ahead, you got gangway in the back area where you can go take garbage out. The area that we had in the back, people's back porches and stuff, we had this concrete landing where we had our grill, huge grill, and then a little concrete area where I'm going to put all that meat on the ground. I'm going to go ahead and put that lighter fluid on that boy, and I'm going to get me some matches, and poosh. It is only Yah that did not allow the young foolish child to burn that entire half-block complex down. And I am not exaggerating. Because I put so much fluid on it, folk was like, what in the world is this Negro doing out there? I'm burning the meat. Shut up. Because that's what the law says. Because, you can have zeal, but not according to knowledge. I want y'all to type the word zeal. Z-E-A-L. Type that word for me, please. Now, y'all in Chicago, y'all can relate to them storefronts, huh? I'm just trying to make it plain. So it took me about a good hour plus. I'm talking, I can barely remember because we're talking that's 32 plus years ago. Everything, the bones couldn't burn, but we had that type of lamb, y'all. Head, intestines, everything. The Torah said you can't wash it with water. We didn't do none of that. Well, let me tell you, Moreh. Now, remember now, it also says in Exodus 12, you're going to have your sandals. We had went out and bought sandals. Now, at that time of the year in Chicago, it's still kind of cold. We went and bought sandals. We had went to the forest and found some tree branches and cut it down. And so we're sitting there, the men, sitting there with our families, with our staff in our hands, sandals in our feet, and we eating that meat quick. Even though we ain't about to depart in the morning. Did y'all hear what I said? See, a lack of understanding can get you and other people hurt. No matter how sincere Moreh NuriYahu is, do I understand when I stand before the people about a subject as serious as the appointed times, the set times, the feast days, the holy days? Do I understand? Is it understandable? So many of us got indigestion. Because, because you just can't just chew a few things. We got barbecue sauce. So he'll go to lamb, he'll go some goat. We eating horseradish. We got manischewitz, matzah crackers.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Moreh, and we got some Mogan David wine.
Yeah.
So we got the wine. We got the bread, matzah cracker. And now we do the Hebrew form of communion. Well, Messiah said, this is my body that's been given for you, and this is my blood, this is the blood of the everlasting covenant. Do this in remembrance of me. So wait a minute, Moreh, we're merging what we think is the Messiah and the brothers sitting down for his last Passover dinner. We're merging that with Torah. We got us a Hebrew communion ceremony going on, something that Yah didn't command. But we don't know no better. In April of 1993. Father. Let me head now to February, March 1997. By this time, every year, 1993, 94, 95, 96, I have kept what we call, at that time, Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread 4 times, plus all the other holy days we read about, Leviticus 23. Well, by this time, coming up to the same cycle of holy days, True New Year and that whole thing, I'm doing a lot of study, Moreh. I'm into the language more by this time because I had been to Israel the first time, the land of Israel, in May of 1996. And I was committed in our congregation to learning the Hebrew language. Does everyone see what I have in front of the camera? Can you see that clearly? Let me read it for you. It says, Torah nebi'im ketubim vehabrit hachadashah. So this is Genesis through Revelation, all in Hebrew. I can read this, everything in it, with about a good 85 to sometimes 95% accuracy. But by 1997, it was only a pipe dream that I could even grasp what the Father's blessed me to understand now. Would you all believe me if I told you that even in the King James Version, KJV, you have critical areas of Torah that are accurately 100% translated? Believe me. How do I know? I'm going step for step. Bam, bam, bam. Remember I told you about those hours?
Yeah.
Hundreds, thousands over the years. What y'all gonna get to taking me up till the last day of this past Feast of Tabernacles 2024 to fully understand. You don't have to make the mistakes that we did. We don't have to be out of alignment with the will of Yah if we are willing to stop reading over and through because we believe we know best. Would you believe me if I told you that the way back to Yah as a covenant people is obey all that Yah commanded? But how can we obey all that Yah commanded when there's some laws that strictly in Torah, you're going to see it today, are land of Israel only. Everybody type in caps the word only. See, Moreh, Amir, it's one thing, my brother, for us to stand before folk and people believe in our credibility and veracity and the accuracy of the research, but it's another thing for us to have a forum and their eyes are right on it. Plus, when it says in English, by the end of today, you're going to say, how did I miss that? Because you have been wearing these glasses. Some of you, I guarantee you, your teacher is probably a student of a student of a student that I taught years ago, and you wouldn't know it. Everybody doesn't remain in the same congregation just like I did. The goal, purpose of congregations or assemblies in my 32 plus years is a starting point. It's a clearinghouse. It's a place where fellowship and family, trust, relationships begin, grow, and can become what they should become. But I'm going to tell you this. Having taught for the past 32 years in a formal, structured leadership capacity, if the fellowship, congregation, assembly, or camp, I hate that word, camp, but whatever, if it doesn't serve the needs of the people, it should not exist.
Okay.
Many of our leaders, brothers and sisters, are afraid to grow. That stagnation, that fear can be transmitted to members of the congregation where apathy, complacency can be embraced and there's no growth. What if I told you all that any type of spiritual component that we're trying to attach to, well, this is what Passover means spiritually. This is what Feast of Unleavened Bread means spiritually. Then Feast of Weeks and the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets and the Day of Atonement and the Feast of Unleavened, Feast of Tabernacles. How do you all of a sudden jump over the physical facet and get to the spiritual piece? But then we extract or extricate from chapter and verse the letter of Torah, and then we try to mingle it with the Ruach Kodesh, as we call it. How do you know that what you're being led by, that many say is the Father's Spirit, how do you know that's Yah? Is Yah going to command you to do something he just commanded you to not do? No, he's not.
It's not.
Only Hasatan comes after Yah, where now there's a question about not just to obey, but how to obey. You all know in this whole thing, diaspora, this awakening by stages, that it was always known by Yah that there would be a portion of the nation of Israel that would lose the knowledge of him, the knowledge of the true Messiah, and the knowledge of who we are. Here on the west coast of Africa, I've met Israelites from so-called different tribal distinctions that have always known they're Israelites, but they may have been forcibly converted to Christianity like us, or Islam, where they may have simply walked back into some ancestor veneration idolatry. But Israelites, Moreh, Amir, in the United States, we are a special breed. We think that our understanding and our definition of how we conclude that this is what Torah means, we think that this is supposed to be understood and embraced by Israelites worldwide, because the Ruach is who told us that.
Yeah.
Okay. Brothers and sisters, I've fellowship with thousands of Israelites over the years. And I'm going to tell you, we are more wrong in some areas than many leaders would like to admit. But many leaders, because they're making merchandise of the people, and the 3 specific holy days, feast days we're about to talk about, that's when the fellowship is secondary. The building of family is secondary. But that's when the money might begin to be raked in. It's one thing that we tell the Christians about tithing and how that was in the Torah. It says you ain't under the law, you ain't supposed to tithe. But what about Israelites that during the holy days, we say, well, men 3 times a year, we got to get 10%. Got to give 10% to who? Bring 10% where? And what form is the 10% supposed to take? Because I'm going to tell y'all, on the west side of Chicago, our first congregational place, we had two. Those three.
It looks like we lost them. Hopefully, no. Being in Ghana and with my conversations with them, they lose power, they lose internet. So hopefully that's not the case. And he'll be able to jump back on. If not, I'll take it over. Give him a couple minutes. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Okay. I'll give him again about 2 more minutes. See if he can reconnect. And if not, then I will begin to jump to Exodus 12. And we will go from there. I hope y'all are ready because there are some things like he talked about learning the Hebrew. And is it absolutely necessary? No. But I promise you this. When I was posting things about this and I was putting in quotations, keep. Uh, if you look at Exodus 12 in English, it don't matter the translation you're using. If you look at Exodus 12 in English, you're gonna see things saying we're supposed to keep this, keep this, keep this. I came across 4 different Hebrew words for keep. And some of these definitions were wildly different. So when I'm posting about they said, wait, hold on, they said this on my end. Give me 1 second. He said the issue is on my end. Let me take a look. Okay. Sorry about that. We're getting it worked out. But like I was saying, um, when you're looking at that word keep in Hebrew, there are 4 different words in Exodus 12 alone, and the definitions are wildly different. So if you're not looking and investigating these things for each one, which is a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of work. And this is how we can come to false conclusions or incomplete assessments. So, for example, this was, give me 1 second. He's calling me right now.
Moreh, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Okay, good, good, good. Yeah, I had, I guess, weak signal, but I have no idea beyond that.
You can go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, I don't see the screen. Are you going to share your screen?
Yeah, I'll share, but you can go ahead and start talking.
Oh, okay. Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Give me 1 second. All right, my brothers and my sisters, we are back. Can you all hear me? You can hear me clearly? All right. Can you all see me clearly? All right. Beautiful. Hallelujah. Woo! As I say, hey, I'm in Ghana, West Africa. So it's a blessing so far that this is only the issue that we have. Usually it's okay, but we're going to just push through this whole thing. In 1997, based on some serious research I was doing into the language, as well praying, asking the Father to help me understand, because I began to recognize that we were handling some things wrong. One of the things we were handling wrong in our congregation was the fact that we had lamb or goat. Now, we had stopped buying after that first year a live lamb. We started going to, because Chicago's got segregated communities even still, Little Italy on the near west side of Chicago, and they had a kosher butcher, and we had to hook up with this Italian deli, this butcher. So he would give us some choice lamb chops, Moreh. And when I say choice, we started, it became a congregational tradition where all the men between 1994, 5, and 6, we would take off work on the 10th day, go buy this lamb, get it cut up, and we would put it in the various deep freezers or freezers of everybody else. Now, the law don't say you can go to the grocery store and buy no lamb or goat, does it? So if we're not doing it exactly the way the Father's commanded, maybe it's not that we're doing it wrong. Maybe you're not supposed to be doing that, period, not that part. So I brought to me, we couldn't deal with the lamb or the goat because the priesthood, assisted by the Levites, the priesthood, the sons of Aharon, the priesthood, assisted by the Levites, the priesthood primarily were the ones to do the sacrificing. To do the sacrificing. Okay? Priesthood assisted by the Levites. Next thing, it was clear that this sacrificing of the lamb, not just a certain time of the month, first month, it was a certain place that it could only be done in. So I just want to float that on your minds right now. Feast of Unleavened Bread, Feast of Passover, as it's called. Because many Israelites refer to Chag HaMatzot, Feast of Unleavened Bread today, as Passover. So now, there was an uprising in our congregation, and folk rebelled because guess who, from 94, 95, and 96, guess who was the designated person out there with that lamb on the grill? Yours truly. And boy, we was
Yeah, he's having a signal issue. That's unfortunate because he's just starting to get into the meat of this. No pun intended. Please stand by. We're going to try to get them reconnected. Try this one more time. Can you hear me? Moreh, NuriYahu, can you hear me? Okay, your camera is back in.
All right. Can you hear me more?
I hear you.
All right. It's the internet service provider because I keep seeing the bars and the service just drops off. That's what's happening.
Okay, let's get to this.
All right. I see the screen on the live stream, but I don't see my picture. I don't see me.
Yeah, you're not. Once you dropped off, it prevented you. I would have to close everything out and restart the stream.
Wow. Whew. Okay. Let me bring everything home. Everybody, can you hear me clearly? Type 1, please. What I wanted to do was give you a background in terms of where I came from, where I'm at now. Suffice it to say, because we're having some serious internet issues, let me just cut to the chase. Up until the last day of the most recent Feast of Tabernacles, can everybody hear me? You can hear me. All right, beautiful. Up until the most recent Feast of Tabernacles, my family, we celebrated the Moadim, the Chagim, the holy days. Everything from Feast of Unleavened Bread to the Feast of Tabernacles. Turn with me to Exodus or Shemot, chapter 24, verses 1 through 8. Okay? For purposes of transparency, when you hear me say that up until the last day of the most recent Feast of Tabernacles, we celebrated the Moadim in terms of the Chagim, Feast of Unleavened Bread, Feast of Weeks, Feast of Tabernacles. Many of you, as I can see on the live stream, I see some names that are familiar to me. Some of you I've fellowshiped with or I've met over the years at maybe, let's say, different congregational events. Many of you who know me know that it's always been a staple in our congregational fellowship world. Some of you have not talked to me in some time, so you'll probably say, well, what the heck happened? Why would you, of all people, especially after doing this for decades and teaching people, what would cause you of all people, NuriYahu, because anybody that knows me knows that I don't play when it comes down to Torah, period. If this is what the Father said, let's do some research. Is our understanding in sync with what he said? Where are we in the context of what he meant? Okay? There are 4 particular things that are pertinent to understand about how I study. First, I have to have a subject or a topic. Again, turn to Shemot or Exodus 24, 1 through 8. When you get that, type 1, please. You have to have a topic. Our topic is the Chagim, or the feast days, the set times, Feast of Unleavened Bread, Feast of Weeks, Feast of Tabernacles. Number 2, have you read all the content, everything in Torah? Everything in Torah on the subject. Number 3, there's some things that there's a certain context to. Context, meaning how it's supposed to be understood. Everything on the surface with English does not mean exactly what the Hebrew may say. And number 4, the accurate or the proper application. Could you type those 4 things? Moreh and NuriYahu has studied now for the past 17, 18 years. This was not the highlight of the first years of my walk. I'm talking to you about me. So, 4 things. I have to have a topic. Once I determine the topic, I'm going to read everything in the Bible and maybe even extra biblical sources, books, Book of Jubilees, 1st, 2nd, 3rd Enoch. I know about the Apocrypha. There's an Old Testament Apocrypha. There's a New Testament Apocrypha. I know about the book of Yasher. I've seen, in my Israelite world, I've seen 3 books of Yasher. You see what I'm saying? So a topic, content, everything in Torah. If it's a subject about Torah, have you read everything? Just because we are no longer responsible for sacrifice, formal, ritual, service, worship, you are still responsible for knowing some things. Because to know will tell you what to do and what not to do. Is everybody following me? Okay? Context. How is this thing to be understood? Then application. Once I've done all that, how do we go about doing it? Okay? So now, we are in Shemot or Exodus 24, 1 through 8. And this is what it says. And he said unto Moshe, come up unto Yahweh, you and Aharon and Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship you afar off. And Moshe alone shall come near unto Yahweh, but they shall not come near, neither shall the people go up with him. Verse 3. And Moshe came and told the people all the words of Yah, and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which Yahweh has said, we will do. Let's pause now and check ourselves. So by Exodus or Shemot, because I'm going to be using the proper Hebrew names for the books in Torah, the proper Hebrew of the Hebrew language in other areas, but I will explain it. I will not just throw it out there and expect you to know or understand what I'm talking about. So in Shemot or Exodus, by chapter 24, verse 3, we have a very Torah. By this time, people understand the covenant of circumcision or Brit HaMilah is. By this time, in Exodus chapter 16, people know the Torah, the basic introduction to Yom about the Sabbath day that's found in Exodus chapter 16. We go chapter 20, and we have what's called Eseret Devarim. Eseret means 10 Devarim words. Eseret Devarim is commonly called commandments. So now between chapter 20 and chapter 24, the people are scared to death. Moshe, you talk to him. The people back away from the mountain. Moshe goes up a little further on the mountain and begins, after them 10 first spoken commandments, to give him more Torah. Do this, da, 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 and everything else. But I want you to look at verse 3 at the end. All the words which Yah has said we will do. We had not heard all the words which Yah was going to say, yet we bound ourselves, that generation, and bound future generations up to us and us in what's called a brit or covenant. Does everybody follow me so far? Okay. All the words, that is the basis of the nation of Israel's covenant relationship to Yah. Yah considers us his Isha, his wife. You follow? 4 through 7 now. And Moshe wrote all the words of Yahweh, rose in the morning and built an altar under the hill and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto Yah. And Moshe took half of the blood. Keep that in mind. When blood now has been shed, you're going to be seeing a ratification or a sealing and enforcement of a covenant relationship. And Moshe took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant, verse 7, and read it in the hearing of the people. And they said, all that Yahweh has said we will do, and be obedient. I want you to highlight your verse 3, if you have a highlighter marker, and your verse 7. Notice now verse 3, all the words which Yah has said we will do, but they add something in verse 7. All that Yah has said we will do and be obedient. Can you all type in caps the word obedient? You might see on your screen that Moreh has posted, because we're going to be using this. It's a Hebrew to English website. It is called Mechon Mamre, which means the Mamre Institute. Is the place where our father Abraham, one of the places he stayed in Genesis or Bereshit chapter 13, verse 18, when his name was Abram. Okay? Obedient. Moreh, what does obedient mean, my brother? Can you kind of help us out here? Does obedient have something to do with obey? What does that mean?
Yeah, obedient would be to hear something, understand, and do what is required, or what is requested, or what is stated.
So if I understood what you just said, when all is said and done, we've heard and we'll be shown how to do. The overall bottom line is we have to do what has been commanded. If that's what I'm understanding, we have to do what's been commanded. Is that
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
So watch this. Verse 8. And Moshe took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which Yah has made with you concerning these words. Can you all type blood, please? Behold, the blood of the covenant that Yah has made with you concerning all these words. That is Shemot or Exodus 24, verse 8. Now, you see that, again, Moreh has a website with Hebrew. I don't know how many people understand present-day Hebrew. Call it what you will. But I do. If you understand it or you have your own copy of a Tanakh, Torah in Hebrew, follow along. This is where you must begin to double check everything I'm saying. So now, in chapter 24, verse 8, give me a second while I find it. Here we go. Chapter 24. Oops, sorry about that, Joel. All right. As I look in chapter 24 right here, I want to find the word for blood. The Hebrew word for blood is dam. For those that understand Hebrew language, you will see a dalet and a mem. It says, Hine dam habrit asher karat Yahweh imakim. Behold the blood of the covenant that Yahweh has made with you, O house of Israel. That's all Israelites that were there and even down to us and beyond us right now. Does everybody understand that? Does everyone understand that you genetically, in the DNA of the ancestors, our fathers and our mothers at that time, you, me, we, who claim to be the true children of Israel, biblically speaking, we are bound to this day in this covenant. All that Yah said we will do and be what? Obedient. Everybody sees that, right? This, brothers and sisters, is before the 40 years wandering. The 40 years in the wilderness took place starting from Numbers Ben-Midbar chapter 11 up to Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 1. So chapter 24 of Exodus is before the 10 major times of rebellion, disobedience to Yah. And then the last time, spy out the land in 40 days, and the 10 came back with the bad report, got folks scared and everything. So you spy out the land, there's going to be a year in the wilderness, a year for every day you spied out the land, as it were. Sound familiar to you all? Am I telling your story? Am I reciting, rehearsing your story, our story? Is it accurate? I believe so. This is before the 40 years. Turn now to Devarim chapter 4. We're going to read verses 1 through 9. This is when we're about to really deal with some Hebrew. But I'm going to explain it to you because I am a teacher of the basics of the language. This is nothing deep. This is nothing difficult. So we're going to Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 4, verses 1 through 9. Once you get that, please type 1. Okay? Please type 1. Devarim, chapter 4, verse 1 through 9, but focus right now on verses 1 and 2. This chapter is as the 40 years has come to an end. Moshe is going to be dying soon. They're going to cross over Nahar HaYarden, or the River Jordan. Okay? Sound familiar? This is your history. This is your story. You got to know this. All right, so we're there. Devarim chapter 4, we're going to read 1 through 9 with emphasis on 1 through 2, and here we go. Now therefore hearken, O Yisrael, not just one tribe, not 5, but all 12, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you to do them, that you may live and go in and possess the land which Yahweh Elohim of your fathers gives you. You shall not. Everybody type, you shall not, in caps, please. You shall not add unto the word which I command you. Neither shall you diminish. I keep the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, which I command you. Let's stop. We're not going to go from 3 to 9 just yet. I want you to type, you shall not. I mean, can you still hear me, Moreh?
Yes, sir.
All right, hallelujah. So it looks like we have like maybe a 10 to 15-second audio lag. I don't know about video. All right, so everybody, Torah Rabbah, I appreciate so far that you've been compliant. And we did not give the request. Let me give it now. I can tell because I see some of the names of acknowledged known leaders, leaders of congregations, and if not, men who are leaders of their family. And sometimes we have, well, I know we probably have single sisters who have no husband, no head, but they're the leader of their family, doing whatever the best it is that they can do. Some of us are here who are probably not members of structured, organized congregations or the like. What I'm saying to you is this. We're asking for respect. Because you're going to find there are going to be some areas that you don't agree with. Not my interpretation, but it's going to clash with your current understanding. Because you're going to have to explain to yourself, leaders, brothers, achim, morim, elder or younger, you will have to explain to yourself, how did you read past or over or through this? Because that's the question I've asked myself. Moreh, Amir and I, we've had conversation, how long now, Moreh, for the past, month or 3 weeks about this, over and over. And that's the question. How did we see through this? How did we miss this? So you all see in verse 2, this is after the 40 years. So all that Yah said, we will do and be obedient, right? The wilderness is a punishment because we wanted to rebel. Folk wanted to do what they wanted to do. Yah had a remedy for that. It's called kill you.
Sheesh.
That was a remedy. Am I making it up? Why?
No, that's it.
So they would have to pass by the graves of loved ones. Outside when snakes was biting Negroes. Outside when the ground opened up with Datan and Korah, Abiram. Outside of other times, I mean, it's just all type of stuff. Fiery, rebellions, disobedient. We've seen 10 plagues. We've been brought out of Mithraim with this pillar of fire by night and this pillar of cloud by day. And we're going to still do what we want to do. We are the same people today, you all. Let's go further. So now, as you look at that, in verse 2, it says, you shall not add. Neither shall you diminish. Diminish, let's say, means take away. Okay? For those who deal with the Hebrew, check me now. Where it says in English, you shall not add. This is what the Hebrew says. It says, lo to sifu. The root word for add is yasaf. That is number 3254 in the Strong's Concordance. Number 3254 in the Concordance. Where it says in English, you shall not add. It says, lo tosifu al dabar. You shall not add unto the word. Again, for those Hebrew readers, am I making this up? So remember I told you there are areas of any particular, I can't really account for the other versions of the Bible, et Sefer, the Holy Scriptures, and the Hallelujah Scriptures. There's so many Bibles that's supposed to be the better translations. Are you double checking before you uplift somebody's Bible version in English? Are you double checking? Don't all of a sudden say, well, here's my Hebrew name, but how do we know that Hebrew translation? How do we know that Hebrew right there is accurate, brother? Well, are you a student of the language, brother? That's my question. Do you dedicate yourself to understand the subject, or is it easy to write it off because it's too hard? You're too busy. But many of us have an opinion about what is and what ain't Hebrew, and are not a student of the language. And if we call ourselves a student, we want Paleo Hebrew, ancient characters with what we believe is an ancient pronunciation. Okay, but that's a class for another time. So now, lo tosifu, the word yasaf, because it says add, the word yasaf means to augment, A-U-G-M-E-T, E-M-E-N-T, to increase, okay, to exceed. Again, this is number, for those dealing with the Strong's Concordance, number 3254. Why am I making this distinction? What we read in Exodus 24, Shemot 24, before the 40 years, Devarim chapter 2, 1 and 2, after it's over. There can be no excuse for our people at that particular point, before they cross the Jordan, to get into the land, interpret Torah the way they want, and do what they want to do. But they're going to do it anyway. Okay? So now, lo tosifu, when it says, neither shall you diminish, give me a second, neither shall you diminish, it says, lo tig re u. So, you shall not add, neither shall you diminish. The word, the root word for tigreu is the word gara. Every Hebrew word has a root or shoresh. Some people say shoresh, but it's actually shoresh. It is the root that gives you the foundational structure of a word. So I can see, because you have Gimel Reish, lo tigreu means to not diminish. Diminish simply means to lessen, Lessen, to withhold, okay? To remove. Sound familiar? You shall not add to the word I've commanded, neither shall you take away. For the Feast of Unleavened Bread, where is it written in Torah that we have to drink wine? Can somebody tell me? For the Feast of Unleavened Bread, where is it written that you must drink wine as a part of the meal that you sit down to eat? Lamb, goat, marorine, bitter herbs, and matzo, unleavened bread. Where does it say during the Feast of Unleavened Bread we are to commemorate the life, death, and resurrection of the Messiah? And for the record, I am a believer in Yahushua HaMashiach till the day I die. I don't worship him. I don't pray to him, but I honor him, respect him for the position that Yah put him in. Yah has given him the authority to rule the world for 1,000 years. Yah has given him the authority and the power to raise the righteous dead who died throughout history from even before the flood up to those who died enduring to the end before he returns to battle the beast, the false prophet, the kings of the world, and their armies. Oh, I believe in him. But we've twisted much of his understanding as well. A lot of it is due to poor versions, translations. And a lot of us just don't do the research. And we depend on those who are leading us to be teaching us accurately based on diligent research of the subject. Did everybody hear what I just said? So, it says, you shall not add, lo tosifu, neither shall you diminish. Lo tigreo. The root word of tigreo is gara, which means to lessen, to withhold, to remove. Does everybody see the definition? Yeah, it's kind of hollow in this room, that I mean, because I see somebody saying that it's kind of, this is as good as it's gonna get. Just pray that we can get through this with no further problems. Let's do that, huh? So, on the other side of the 40 years, we are being commanded not to add either thought or practice action, or take away either thought, practice, action from what Yah commanded. Does everybody see that in their verse 2 of Devarim chapter 4? Cain or Lo. If you see that, type Cain. If you're still confused, because maybe you, I don't know how you could be, but type Lo. Okay. All right, so I said we're going to read this up to and including verse 9. And here we go. Your eyes, this is talking about our ancestors, our forefathers and mothers. Your eyes have seen what Yahweh did because of Baal Peor, for all the people that followed Baal Peor, which was the idol of the Midianites. Yahweh, your Elohim, has destroyed them from before you. But you that did cleave unto Yahweh, your Elohim, are alive, every one of you this day. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh, my Elohim, commanded me, that you should do so in the land that you go to possess it. 6. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. I'm sorry. So Moshe is telling us that among the nations, when they would hear about it, this is long before we're going to be going to some captivity and all that, they would hear about us from afar and say that we are a wise and an understanding people. Do y'all see that? 7. For what nation is there so great, who has Elohim so near unto them, as Yahweh Eloheinu is in all things that we call upon him for? 8. And what nation is there so great that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this Torah, which I set before you this day? Wait a minute. Moreh Amir. Is Moshe saying that the Torah is righteous? That defines our righteousness?
That's what he's saying.
Does everybody understand what we just read? He said, all this Torah is righteous. Did you see that? Okay. Look at it now. Whew, my goodness. Devarim chapter 12, verse 32. See, I got to set this up, brothers and sisters, before we get into the body of Torah. Because I want to back you up against the wall, and I want to block you in on the right and on the left, and I'm going to stand in front of you by the class and ask you, so what you doing? What I'm about to say, please don't take it personal, but I know for some of us who are spiritually immature, you probably are going to, and that's all fine. Many of us have been preparing for the next cycle in terms of the Moedim. According to my estimation, as I saw a moon last night, it looked like the 6th day, but my calculation says it's the 7th day. So allegedly right now, in this part of the world, 7th day of the 6th month. Many therefore know that the 7th month is going to be coming, and we know that we got several things. Plus at the end of the 7th month, Feast of Tabernacles, or Feast of Ingathering. By the time that this is over, you're going to be asking yourself, if you've already started making preparations, what should I do? Stop the preparations, turn it around, and don't do it.
Yeah.
So now, because it will be without question that if you stay through the end of this and you decide to do what's right in your eyes, you don't understand what's written. Chapter 12, verse 32, and please type 1 once you get there, please. Years ago, I used to be one of the main voices, extremely vocal proponents of all the holy days, the set times, and we would have online debates. And I see right now in the live stream, there's some former members of Israelite heritage. I'm here to tell you, former members, as I told Imam Mayinya, as I was pretty much screaming in her ear almost a year ago, that I'm sorry. Moreh Obadiah, even though he didn't call himself Moreh, I respect him because I knew him from Chicago just like me. He was absolutely right. You all were right. Y'all tried to tell us. We were like, shut up. Y'all don't know what y'all are talking about. Y'all were right. And I am sorry for not, it's not that I didn't want to listen. I didn't understand. Though the very thing you were showing, I read, what I thought we had to do is what blinded me. Okay? So we're in chapter 12, verse 32, because we're gonna come back to chapter 12 later now. And chapter 12 is going to eat us alive. Check, check, check. So here we go. Verse 32 says, whatsoever thing I command you, observe to do it. You shall not add unto it, neither shall you diminish from it. We just saw 2 places in Torah, Moreh, where it says that we don't have the authority to add nothing, no matter how sincere or well-meaning. See, a lot of our mistake is based on a lack of understanding of what we read, and then we try to overlay what we already don't understand, but we think we do, with some type of spiritual meaning.
Yeah.
I was right there.
Yeah.
I was right there. I understand it because I taught it. So what do you all see in verse 32 that looks familiar? Don't you see in verse 32 it's the same thing that we saw in chapter 4, verse 2? Now, you would think that that's enough warning. That's not enough for Israelites. Turn to chapter 27. This is something that as a actual acknowledged known teacher leader in the nation for the past 32 years, this is me now. I'm not saying it's not done. I rarely hear about what we're about to discuss. Deuteronomy 27. We're going to read 1 through 14, then verse 18, then verse 21, then there's verse 25 and 26. Can we have somebody in the live stream, please, post these scriptures, please, in terms of what I'm saying? So we're still in Deuteronomy. We're in chapter 27, 1 through 14, verse 18, then 21, then 25 through 26. Okay? I don't care what version you have. If you could do it, it would be a great blessing. Are you all noticing what I'm doing? I'm setting this up. I'm setting it up. But brother, we ain't read nothing yet about saying we can't keep it. You ain't supposed to have read nothing yet about saying you can't keep it outside the land of Israel. Foundationally, in terms of what you are to do, primarily. We are to obey all that Yah has commanded. We are not to add to what Yah has commanded or take away, diminish from what Yah has commanded. That is the blueprint. That is the foundation. That's the roadmap that's being established. Okay? So here we go. Chapter 27. This is right before we go into the land now. Verse 1 through 14. And it says this. And Moshe with the elders of Israel commanded the people, saying, keep all the commandments which I command you this day. Can we type in caps? Keep all. Can we type that, please? Keep all. K-E-E-P-A-L-L. You notice the theme here? This is after the 40 years is coming to an end, right before we come into the land, reiterating, rehashing, putting it top of head, top of mind. Any of this, some of y'all forgot what happened in 40 years because of disobedience and rebellion. Hey, you better keep everything I commanded you. 2. And it shall be on the day that you pass over the Yarden unto the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you, that you shall set up great stones and plaster them with plaster. And you shall write upon them all the words of this Torah when you are passed over, that you might go into the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you, a land that flows with milk and honey, as Yahweh your Elohim has promised you. Therefore it shall be, when you are going over the Yarden, that you shall set up these stones, which I command you this day, in Mount Ebal. Mount is said, is called hard, mount or mountain, Ebal. Okay? That's the first mountain. Mount or hard Ebal. Please take good notes, brothers and sisters. Okay? He said, you shall set up these stones on Mount Ebal, and you shall plaster it with plaster. 5. And there you shall build an altar unto Yahweh your Elohim, an altar of stones. You shall not lift up any iron tool upon them. You shall build the altar of Yahweh your Elohim of whole stones, and you shall offer their burnt offerings thereon unto Yahweh your Elohim. And you shall offer peace offerings, and you shall eat there. And you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim. And you shall write upon the stones all the words of this Torah very plainly. And Moshe and the Kohanim, the Levites, spoken to all Israel, saying, take heed and hearken, O Israel, this day. You are become the people of Yahweh, your Elohim. Wait a minute. Did you see an order right there? After he said something about peace offerings and burnt offerings, did you notice before they go into the land, he's got 2 groups. He says priests, Levites. Verse 10, you shall therefore obey the voice of Yahweh your Elohim and do his commandments and his statutes that I command you this day. And Moshe charged the people the same day, saying, because again, we're going to read this up to verse 14. These shall stand upon Har or Mount Gerizim. It's not Gerizim, that's English, but Har or Mount Gerizim. So there are 2 mountains in this part of the land of Israel even today. Har Ebal, Mount or Mount, the mountain Ebal, as they say in English. Har Gerizim. This is of the utmost importance. This is the mountain of blessing the nation of Israel. This is the mountain of cursing us. Now, this is Torah, Moreh Amir. How many of us really understand what we're reading now? The amount of blessing, the amount of cursing. This is before Deuteronomy 28. You know, the blessings for obedience to Torah, the curses for disobedience to Torah. What does this got to do with anything? Everything. Watch this. Verse 12. These shall stand upon Har Gerizim to bless the people when you come over the Yarden. The tribe of Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yissaschar, Yosef, and Benjamin. Tribes that you are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 tribes to bless Israel on Har Gerizim. 1, if that's what your text essentially says in verse 12. Verse 13 says, and these shall stand upon Har Ebal, Reuben, Gad, Asher, Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali. That, it says, to curse. And these shall stand upon Har Ebal to curse. So, 6 tribes on this mountain to bless, 6 tribes on this mountain to curse. Verse 14, and the Leviim and the Levites shall speak and say unto all the people of Israel with a loud voice. Look at verse 18. Notice it says cursed. What is the Hebrew word in Torah in that verse, brothers and sisters? Okay? Actually, before we do that, please forgive me. In verse 13, where it says, these shall stand to curse, it is this Hebrew word here. Kelah. Kelala. It is number 7045 in the Strong's Concordance. So where it says, these shall stand on Mount Ebal to curse, the word curse right there is Kelala. Kuf Lamed Lamed He. Okay? But it's going to be a different word. As you see, it says cursed all the way down from 15 to 26. So there are various things, if you've now read this chapter, that it says, cursed be the man that makes any graven image. All people shall say amen. But I want you all to take a look at verse 18. Look at verse 18. Moreh, Amir, could you read for us, Moreh, what your verse 18 says in English, please?
Cursed be he that maketh the blind to go astray in the way. And all the people shall say, amen.
So, I'd like some opinions now. So, Moreh said that it says, and mine says the same thing, cursed be he that makes the blind to wander out of the way, and all the people shall say, amen. So, is this talking about causing a physically blind male or female, old, young, child, doesn't matter? If you stop them from going in the right direction, though you can lead them in the right direction, is this saying they'll be cursed? Because the word that's there is the Hebrew word arur. It is from the root word arar. The root word arar is number 77, is 779. So, curse in verse 13 is kelala, okay? That means to vilify. Watch this. Cursed in verse 18 shows up in the text. It says arur, from the root word arar. The definition is, give me 1 second, plain and simple curse. The exact opposite of blessing. So is this commandment in verse 18 saying you're going to be cursed if you cause the physical, where you could have helped them, or you consciously misdirect them? Or is this saying curse be you if you cause the spiritually blind to wander out of the way and you could help them? Let's just say, for purposes of this conversation, it's the physical blind. Okay? Does everybody follow me? Can everybody see it? Okay? So every time you see the word cursed, in Hebrew it says arur. So verse 18, look at verse 21 now. It says, cursed or arur be he or her that lies with any manner of beast, and all the people shall say, amen. Amen means so be it. Make it so. Let it be as it's been spoken. Okay? Next verse, we're going to read 25 to 26. This is where it gets scary. And I'm not just saying that to be dramatic or for theatrical purposes. While I'm erasing this, I want you to read on your own 25 to 26. you might notice a theme. Remember what we read in Devarim 4, 1 and 2? Remember what we read in Devarim 12, verse 32? Shall not add, shall not take away, shall not diminish. What does it say in 25 and 26? Cursed be he that takes reward to slay an innocent person, and all the people shall say, Amen. Moreh, Amir, Babakasha, please. Could you read for us, Moreh, what 26 says?
Cursed be anyone who does not confirm the words of this law by doing them. And all the people shall say, Amen.
All right. So now, here's my question. The root the word confirms in the text is Yakim. Okay, the word Yakim is there in verse 26 in Hebrew, where it says confirm. It is from the root word, pardon me, kum. Kum is number 6965 in the Strong's Concordance. So where it says confirm in English, the definition is to establish, to continue, to perform. So where it says cursed be he or her that does not confirm all the words of his Torah to do it, it's saying you will be cursed if you do not perform, if you do not establish, if you do not do. This was the lead up to the curses of Devarim chapter 28. Cursed shall you be in the city, cursed shall you be in the field. Are y'all following me? But this is attaching a curse to this very day to anyone that does not consciously try to perform, try to do all that Yah is commanding. Now, in our ignorance, legitimately don't know, don't understand, performative, we've not done entirely right. But many of us, I was one of them, in our zeal and our passion to respect the Father, show him our love, we have added things to Torah. We've taken away. Are y'all following me so far? Is it making sense? When you look within the realm of your own Israelite world, in your house, in your fellowship, in your assembly congregation, in your camp, whatever you call a gathering of Israelites, in the Torah-obedient world, are you beginning to see, not that there's anything wrong with trying, but in your efforts to do, did you add something that ain't written? In your efforts to do, or so-called please Yah, this is what Yah said, well, we can't do that because we outside our land, but you go ahead and skirt around that and try to do the very next thing that you done created. Is this making sense, y'all? Is this making sense?
It makes sense to me.
So, if you're with me still, because how many people we got in the live stream so far, Moreh? I think it says 37.
38.
38. If you're still with me, type 1, please. All the warnings we were just given. How did we go from all that Yah said we would do, be obedient, to 40 years later? Woo, my goodness, we go into the land and make no mistakes. How we get from that to this in the days of Yahushua HaMashiach? Turn with me now to NuriYahu, chapter 15. Then we're going to read Mark, chapter 7, 1 through 13. I got to lay it out, brothers and sisters, because we are out of pocket, out of order, out of alignment right now. Okay? NuriYahu, Matthew 15, 1 through 9. Now, I want you all to listen very carefully. In 1993, which you see me holding right here, and you can still see it a little bit. Can you see it? It says Jewish New Testament. This was one of the quote unquote better versions of Matthew, Mark, well, Matthew to Revelation that we found in 1993. And I still, well, this, I don't have everything from Matthew to Revelation, but I found that the reading of this is more in sync with the Hebrew. Because my text, I've got the entire New Testament in Hebrew. Then I got New Testament, Hebrew, English. Listen to this. So again, we're in chapter 15, NuriYahu, verses 1 through 9. And it says, then some Perushim, Pharisees, and Sopharim, scribes, who came from Jerusalem, came to Yahushua and asked him, verse 2, why is it that your Talmudim, or students, disciples, break the traditions of the elders? For they do not wash their hands before they eat. 3. He answered them and said, indeed, why do you break the Torah of Elohim by your tradition or traditions? Before I give an explanation, which is very brief and very simple, by the first century Common Era, in the land of Israel, amongst genetic hereditary Hebrews who are Israelites, what was the traditions of the elders that had supplanted the Torah of Elohim? Who can tell me? Y'all got to help me out now. I want to see what you know and what you don't know. See, it ain't enough just to read that. Did you research it? Because see, again, 93, we didn't have internet. We had to study. And still, many of us still study a certain way today. What were the traditions of the elders? Anybody? I don't see no takers so far. The traditions of the elders. Simply put, allegedly, when Yah gave Moshe all the Torah to give to the nation, Mount Horeb, in the plains of Sinai or Sinai, allegedly, tradition holds that there was an interpretation in areas outside of the instruction. So this interpretation was an oral interpretation that was passed down orally. So this is what Yah said, outside areas where he explained himself. Israelites came behind that and said, well, this is what Yah meant. So this becomes codified and becomes entrenched while in Babylon, Babel, more entrenched for those who are left in the land. It's now called, in the days of Ezra, the scribe, the priest, that Ezra in the Bible, scriptures, the Mishnah. Okay? The Mishnah becomes two forms as the Babylonian and Palestinian or Jerusalem Talmud, or the oral tradition. And this is what the Orthodox and a lot of the conservative Jewish, but they've added way beyond so-called interpretations and then additions to the Torah that our forefathers and mothers had in the days of Hamashiach. So now, let's read this again. Verse 2. Why do your disciples, the Talmudim, break the traditions of the elders, for they do not wash their hands before they eat? He answered, saying, indeed, why do you break the Torah of Elohim by your tradition? Did you all know that a year, 5, 10, 15, 20, type for me right now. I'm only going to show you all because I don't know. Type now in the live stream how many years you have actually known you're an Israelite. Please don't say, well, I've been in the truth for the past 10 years? That's not what I asked you. I'm not trying to use those common phrases. That don't mean nothing to me, good and true. So you know you're an Israelite, okay? How much of Torah do you understand? Do you actually know from an application vantage point? Type how many years you've known you're an Israelite. Come on, y'all. I see 1. I see 9. Okay. Wow, 18 months. Woo-wee. Welcome to the pleasure dome. Because we got to get this demonstration together.
Wow.
And see, Moreh's laughing because he understands. It's so much confusion in our midst that does not have to exist. A lot of the confusion, I speak now as an elder Israelite man, as a senior Moreh, if you want to use that phraseology. I've seen a lot of confusion be headquartered or based in personal interpretations. No, I mentioned earlier about being led by the Father's Ruach, being given the. And I'm not decrying any of that. I'm saying sometimes what you call being led by the Father's Ruach in terms of your understanding and interpretation is your own imagination. Or it's the popular version that many people have accepted, and you simply have adopted the traditions in 2025 of the Israelite world that pre-existed. You've known you're an Israelite. Are y'all with me? Why do you break the Torah of Elohim by your tradition? Next verse. For Elohim said, honor your Abba and your Ima. You all know that's in the first 10 spoken commandments, right? And anyone who curses his Abba or Ima must be put to death. A lot of folks are not really familiar with that part of Torah, but that's there too. But you say, talking about the Israelite leadership, if anyone says to his Abba or Ima, I have promised to give a gift to Elohim that I may have used to help you, then he, the student of the Pharisee or scribe, then he is rid of his duty to honor his Abba or Ima. Thus, by your tradition, you make null and void the commandment of Elohim. You hypocrites! Well did NuriYahu or Isaiah speak about you. Quote, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Their worship of me is useless because because they teach man-made rules as if they were 29 verse 13. Turn with me now to Mark 7, 1 through 13. Is everybody with me so far? Moreh, come on, man. Get down to this law that's saying that we can't keep the holy days, unleavened bread, feast of weeks, tabernacles outside of Israel. That's all I want to hear, brother. You're doing too much talk. What can I say? This is who I am. This is who the Father made me in the context of I got to lay it out and make it plain. I'm not concerned about entertaining nobody or what nobody would like me to talk about right now and how.
What did you say you wanted to return to?
Mark 7, 1 through 13. Mark 7, 1 through 13. Okay? Mark 7, 1 through 13. Please type 1 once we get there. This is going to be a bit more in depth. Same interaction, bit more in depth. And here we go. The Pharisees and the scribes, or the Perushim and the Sopharim, who had come from Jerusalem, gathered together with Yahushua and saw that some of his Talmudim students ate with ritually unclean hands. That is, they did not do what's called intilat yadayim. For the Purushim, the Pharisees, and indeed all Israelites, holding fast to the traditions of the elders, do not eat unless they have given their hands a ceremonial washing. Let me read that again. For the Pharisees, and indeed, verse 3, all Israelites, holding fast to the traditions of the elders, do not eat unless they have given their hands a ceremonial washing. It didn't say wash their hands because of hygienic practices. It's because of a ceremony that they had been told they had to do before they ate. Here's this cup, and they even do it in Israel right now. Watch this. Let's go further. 4. Also, when they come from the marketplace, they do not eat unless they have rinsed their hands up to the wrist. And they adhere to many other traditions, such as washing cups and pots and bronze vessels. Where did all that come from in Torah, you all? Where did all that nonsense come from? It was created post Moshe. We got into the land, and more of it was created while we were in Babylonian captivity. When we came back after the 70 years, that's when it really took root. So by the time Yahushua was born and now doing what's commonly called his earthly ministry, it's all kind of mess. You all remember Acts chapter 1, a Sabbath day's journey. And they walked from the city up to the Mount of Olives, a Sabbath day journey. Where is it in Torah that you can only walk so many feet on the Shabbat? Do you know it's unlawful for you to carry a bed on the Shabbat, but this man has been an invalid handicap for how many years? Who told you you could pick up your bed and carry it? You know it's a Shabbat. Wait a minute. So the man, here's his mat, his little, roll-up mat. He is healed now, but because of their interpretation of work, they consider that work, though he's not working as his occupation. Are y'all following me? Watch this. 5. Then the Pharisees and scribes asked him, why don't your Talmudim or disciples live in accordance with the traditions of the elders, but instead they eat with ritually unclean hands? Yahushua answered them, saying, NuriYahu was right about you when he prophesied about you hypocrites, as it is written. These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Their worship of me is useless, because they teach man-made rules as though it were Torah. You depart from the commandments of Elohim, and you hold fast unto human tradition. Indeed, he said unto them, you have made it a fine art by departing from the Torah of Elohim in order to keep your tradition. For Moshe said, honor your Abba, your Ima, and anyone who curses his Abba or Ima must be put to death. But you say, if someone says to his Abba or Ima, I have promised a korban. Korban is any offering or sacrifice brought near the altar to be given freely to Yah. What I might have given to you to help you, my parents, then you no longer let him do anything for his Abba or Ima. Thus, with your tradition, which you have had handed down to you, you nullify the word of Elohim, and you do these things in the like also. Let's see if we're on the same page. Can anybody in the live stream give me an example of an Israelite tradition that you've seen? You went to fellowship with somebody, something that's not in Torah, but this is what Israelites are doing. Would you be willing or courageous to post maybe something you used to do, but you learned better, but you don't do it no more because something you used to do that you thought is what Torah said? Let me give you an example of something. In Torah, we are commanded to wear fringes, cords of blue, or a border of blue. Some new Bibles or whatever say tassels. Is all manner of manifestations of that. But wasn't that commanded that we look at it to remember all the Torah to do it? that we don't go a whoring after our own thoughts and do what's right in our own eyes. And I've seen people debate about how it's supposed to be done. Another tradition that's taken hold in the nation of Israel today is when an actual day starts. No, man, the day don't start at sundown. The day starts when the sun rises. No, man, you know, the new moon, the new month, and all this other stuff, it don't start then. I read the book of Enoch and say this, that, and the other. Okay. Now, I followed the book of Enoch for the past 32 years. I don't have the problems many people have because I don't get down with debate no more. I do the best I can with it and leave everything in the Father's hand. Next, another tradition that people debate about is not in Torah, but what actually is the Hebrew language? And another thing, where is the true biblical land of Israel actually located? So now, let us go, brothers and sisters, if we dare, to define what exactly is a moed and what exactly is a chag. What is a moed? Now, again, this is just how I spell it. You may have seen it spelled M-O-E-D, M-O-A-D, but it's pronounced moed. What is a moed? Okay, moed is number 4150 in the Strong's Concordance. Take this definition down. Moed means a fixed time, F-I-X-E-D, or season, something that is appointed beforehand. So moed means a fixed time or season, something that is appointed beforehand. It is number 4150. Okay? What is the word chag? You may have seen it spelled H-A-G. You may have seen it spelled H-A-G, but under the H, you have a dot. That means that's supposed to be a K-H. You may have seen chag also spelled C-H-A-G. I don't trip with both, but in the Hebrew language, there is no equivalent to C. So what we would say, because there's no English equivalent, K-H, that's how it's spelled in Hebrew. It's a chet gimel. Okay? What is chag? Chag is number 2282 in the Strong's Concordance. What does chag mean? Chag means a feast or festival or a victim / animal to be sacrificed. Did you know that chag, the primary first application, means feast or festival, but the secondary application means that chag, a few places in Torah, is actually used for the animal to be sacrificed. Did y'all know that? Why is that important? Turn to Exodus or Shemot 23:18. Exodus or Shemot. To you. Before we go any further, brothers and sisters, you all that are still with us, is this making sense to you so far? Have I lost anyone? Am I using too much Hebrew? Am I giving too much of a private, personal interpretation of chapter and verse? Would you say this is, at this point, helpful so far? Okay, we're going to Shemot on Exodus 23, chapter 23, verse 18. All right, they can still hear me? Moreh, is it froze?
No, you're good.
Good, okay, I just want to double check because this thing will go down and I won't even know it. All right, verse 18, watch this. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until the morning. Now you might think this has got something to do with the Feast of Unleavened Bread. No! This is a commonplace thing for other types of sacrifices you find between Leviticus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. There are 5 types of sacrifice that Yah commanded, if we could use that word sacrifice, in Torah. You find that between chapters 1 and 7. So by the time we get into the land and you see in the tabernacle or the Ohel Moed or the temple, the Hekal, various type of sacrifices, you see goat and lamb and bulls, ox, and all that stuff. There's a precedent for all that. So when you look at the word my sacrifice, those again dealing with the Hebrew, it's going to say right there in the text, it says, double check me on this, Moreh. In verse 18, it says chagi. But the normal word for sacrifice is zebach. But we were just told that the word chag, in a secondary application type status, if you will, also means victim, the animal to be sacrificed. No, this is not pre-recorded. This is live. This is live. So it says, my sacrifice or chagi. Turn to chapter 34, verse 25 of Shemot, Exodus. Chapter 34, verse 25. I remember years ago, Moreh Amir, Israelite leaders arguing over the English of verse 25. Man, Passover is a feast. And then those of us that started learning the language was like, Passover is not a feast. Man, right there it says right there in English. It don't say that in Hebrew. You know, we keep on beating our chest and telling the world, we are not new, are the real Hebrews in truth. So what's the problem with us embracing the language and doing some research? It's easier to devolve, to degenerate, because many of us have poor, real-world social skills. And when somebody disagrees with our particular position or supposition or understanding, many of us take it personal. So if I don't agree, not everybody, if I don't agree with Moreh NuriYahu's interpretation, then I'm his enemy. That's some of the dumbest, fallen, degenerate, carnal nonsense that happens in our midst to this very day. Did you hear what I said? I ain't got no tongue to bite and nothing to regret. I done seen all type of mess in Israel. But I've also seen elevation versus degeneration. People who desire to learn, to cast off the traditions that well-meaning people taught because that's all they understood at the time. But you got a responsibility to understand above and beyond, brothers and sisters. You understand what I'm telling you? So it says in verse 25, you shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leaven, neither shall the sacrifice of the feast of the Passover be left until the morning. See, brother, Passover is a feast. Nope, that's a lie. Passover is not a chag. Passover is a moed. Give me a second. I'll wipe all this off. In Hebrew, it says, Zebach Chag HaPesach. The English says, of the Passover. The Hebrew says, the sacrifice, the animal, to be sacrificed on the Passover. Ha means the. Pesach, Passover. is saying the word feast there actually means the animal. Okay? Is everybody with me? Let's go to Luke 22, verse 1. Oh, we're getting close because after this, it's time to kick it off, Moreh here. We're going straight to Shemot 12. We read all it. No,
Okay. Let's go.
Y'all still with me? So let's go now to Luke 22, verse 1. Remember, tradition had begun to supplant and function on par with the Torah of Elohim himself. Traditional interpretation and then the creation of things that Yah never said we had to do. So in our day, the tradition of learning you're an Israelite at home or congregation assembly, again, well-meaning people, especially those who don't know no better, and you get handed the tradition of Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, Feast of Weeks, Feast of Tabernacles. That's all we're dealing with today. That's all we're dealing with today. And so it becomes fundamentally intrinsic to every thread of our being, who we are. So for anybody, especially an Israelite, to come before the nation and say, Chag HaMatzot, Feast of Unleavened Bread, Chag HaShavuot, Feast of Weeks, Chag HaSukkot, Feast of Tabernacles, you cannot keep that outside the order that Yah set up, and it ain't got nothing to do solely with the land of Israel. Land of Israel is a component, but it's not solely based on that. We're about to read that. So Luke 22, verse 1. Moreh, could you read that for us if you don't mind? I'd like to shout. Luke 22, 1 says,
Sorry about that. My mic was muted. Now, the feast of unleavened bread draws near, which is called the Passover.
I'm sorry, Moreh. I know I heard what you said right, but could you read that again? Because I want to make sure that my mic, my speakers is working correctly. What did you say?
Okay. I said, now the feast of unleavened bread draw near, which is called the Passover.
Now, remember I told you all earlier in a bit of my testimony that we kept an 8-day thing that started off with what we call Passover. The meal that we ate when the 15th day began, we called it our Passover meal. But do you understand what we just read? In the days of Yahushua HaMashiach, the tradition had supplanted the Torah. Who started calling Chag HaMatzot Pesach? Luke is a non-Israelite. Luke is Greek. He's the physician that traveled with Shaul in different parts in Acts. So he said, now Chag HaMatzot drew near, which is called Pesach. I'm a bit confused, Moreh. I ain't read nowhere in Torah where Pesach is called Chag HaMatzot. Have you ever read that? But this comes almost 2,000 years before us right now, showing you in our traditions and supplanting the Torah, we're doing. Let's now turn with purpose and intent to Exodus or Shemot 12. For those of y'all that's been waiting, here you go. Let's do the do. Okay? We're going to read Shemot 12, portions of it, Shemot 13, portions of it. Then Shemot 23 and 34, then Leviticus, Vayikra 23, Bamidbar 9, then chapter 28, then chapter 29, then Devarim 12, and Devarim 16. Let me give you all this again. And forgive me if it seems like I'm stumbling because I'm looking at my notes and I just got so much packed. I'm trying to keep this in order. We are about to read momentarily Exodus or Shemot 12, portions of it. Chapter 13, Shemot, portions of it. Chapter 23, Shemot, portions of it. And chapter 34. Then Vayikra, Leviticus 23, portions where it's relevant. Ben Midbar, Numbers 9, portions where it's relevant. Chapter 28 and chapter 29, same thing. Ben Midbar, portions where it's relevant. Devarim chapter 12, and Devarim chapter 16. Okay. I have to establish something with you first. I think it would be most inappropriate, Moreh, if we read any of that before establishing location of something first. So if you all could turn now to 2 Chronicles chapter 6, verses 1 through 6. 2 Chronicles chapter 6, 1 through 6, or Debrei Hayamim Beit, Belashon Ibrit, in the language of Hebrew. 2 Chronicles chapter 6, 1 through 6, we must establish a location of something. When we go back in time to Shemot 12, while we're still in Mitzrayim, awaiting the enactment of the 10th plague, death of the firstborn. We're going to go hundreds of years into the future before that to establish location of something, so when we read something else, light bulbs are going to come on. You're going to be like, oh my goodness. You got your own Bible in front of you, even if it's an online version. Ain't nothing I put there. Okay? So here we go. We are going to, again, Debrei Hayamim Beit, or 2 Chronicles 6, 1 through 6. And Moreh, Bevakasha, could you read that for us? We got so much to read, I got to keep my voice.
Yes, sir. Then Solomon said, Yahuwah have said that he would dwell in thick darkness, but I have built you an exalted house, a place for you to dwell forever. Then the king turned around and blessed all the assembly of Israel, while all the assembly of Israel stood. And he said, Blessed be Yahuwah, the Elohim of Israel, who with his hand has fulfilled what he promised with his mouth to David my father, saying, Since the day that I brought my people out of the land of Egypt, I chose no city out of all the tribes of Israel in which to build a house, that my name might be there. And I chose no man as prince over my people Israel. But I have chosen Jerusalem, that my name may be there. And I have chosen David to be over my people Israel.
Everybody in the chat room, oh, I'm sorry, back to the Power Talk. Everybody in the live stream, did you hear what Moreh read? Melech Shlomo, King Solomon, is reciting that Yah said that he was going to choose a city out of all the tribes, right? This city was once called Yebus or Jebus. Then it was called Shalem or Salem. Then the city became known, when it got taken over by the Israelites, David, it became known as Yerushalayim or Jerusalem. Does everybody see in verse 6 that Yah has chosen Yerushalayim, Jerusalem? The place, what does he say? That his name might be there. Does everybody see that? Okay? See, it's personal with Yah, where certain things are done. That's why he goes through all the trouble of repeating himself over and over, over and over, over and over, over and over. because it's personal with him. Okay? Let's turn now to 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 13, then verses 28 through 36. So, 1 Kings or Melachim Aleph, 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 13, then 28 through 36. Okay? If you know leaders that didn't know about this, please let them know about this, because we're getting down to the bone marrow now. This is where it's about to go. Straight into the vein. Unambiguous, non-open-ended, non-debatable language from Yahweh HaKadosh Israel himself, who we claim to worship. Do you think the adversary really cares about our debates about the pronunciation of the Father's name? Debates about the pronunciation of the Messiah's name? The mumbo-jumbo that we get caught up on or in on social networks, trying to establish some false spiritual territory about what is and what ain't. But we can't even, many of us, I was about to say something. Many of us cannot even humble ourselves to do the simplicity of what Yah commands. And when I tell you, when we read the English, there is no excuse. Well, I don't need to know Hebrew because my salvation, this ain't my salvation per se. This is about covenant relationship. So all right, Moreh, we are in 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 13. Can you get us to that point, verse 13 to 28 through 36, please? At your leisure.
Yes, sir. Verse 13. However, I will not tear away all the kingdom, but I will give one tribe to your son for the sake of David, my servant, and for the sake of Jerusalem that I have chosen. And you said verse 20, what?
Well, we're going to read, just pause for that right there for a second. I need to say something about verse 13. The next verses, Moreh, are going to be 28 through 36. Well, let's pause for a second. Let's do a quick mic check, you all, because again, my service fluctuates here, and I don't want to assume that you can hear me. If you can hear me clearly, type 1. Pause for station identification. Brukim habaim alechem. That means blessed are those that have come. Let us formally welcome you and your families to this live presentation. Nope, this is not tape delay. This is live, brothers and sisters. And we are going to have a dedicated question and answer at the end. I don't know everything, neither do I claim to know everything. Might still have the jury out in my mind on. But I can promise you I will answer every question to the best of my current understanding. But if anybody finds that is not satisfactory, go to your Elohim and you talk to him about it. Because I ain't him. Okay? I want to be clear about that. So, who's talking? Oh, Yah is talking to Melech Dawid, King David. Or is he talking to Solomon? Nope. He's talking to Shlomo. Because Shlomo done got all these pagan idol worshiping wives, and he done fell off. Here go the temple of Yah right there, and here go the temple dedicated to one of the false Elohim of his wives. So I'm going to do thus and so now. Now it's a united kingdom. I'm going to do something, and it's going to be in the days of your son. His son's name, in English they say Rehoboam, but it's Rehoboam. You might remember somebody named Jeroboam, but his name is Yeroboam. Jeroboam from the tribe of Ephraim, Rehoboam from the tribe of Yehuda, Judah. He says, I'm going to leave with your son something. Watch this now. One tribe to your son for the sake of Dawid, my servant, and for Yerushalayim's sake, which I have chosen. Does everybody see? You see the pattern here? All right, Moreh, verses 28 through 36. This is the same conversation. Watch this.
The man Jeroboam was very able, And when Solomon saw that the young man was industrious, he gave him charge over all the forced labor of the house of Joseph. And at that time, when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, the prophet Ahijah and the Shilonite, found him on the road. Now Ahijah had dressed himself in a new garment, and the two of them were alone in the open country. Then Ahijah laid hold of the new garment that was on him and tore it into 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, take for yourself 10 pieces, for thus says Yahuwah, the Elohim of Israel, behold, I am about to tear the kingdom from the hand of Solomon and will give you 10 tribes. But he shall have one tribe for the sake of my servant David, and as for the sake of Jerusalem, the city that I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel.
Can we pause 1 second, Moreh? Everybody, what I want you all to type in caps right now, please type Jerusalem, the city I have chosen. Jerusalem, the city I have chosen. Again, this is the way I conduct class, you all. That's why. Make sure that you're engaged. You might be doing whatever, might be getting ready for dinner, what have you, but I want to make sure that you are participating, you are still mentally engaged. This is my portion. Your portion is to make sure you are still connected here. Okay? Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, the city I have chosen. Are y'all noticing the pattern? Have you noticed the pattern so far, Moreh?
I have. Yes, sir.
Listen, that Yah himself keeps saying, I chose Jerusalem. That's the place my name is going to be called from. And you know what I found interesting years ago, Moreh? You remember when Daniel was in captivity? You know, we have the brothers, Mishael, Haniyahu, and NuriYahu. Nebuchadnezzar throws them to the fiery furnace and what have you, and they're delivered. But you notice that Daniel is conspicuously absent. Y'all notice that? But when it comes down to the lion's den, what was the reason you all Daniel got thrown in the lion's den? Because he refused to pray the way the Persian king edict to pray. So when the edict came out, it said Daniel went into his room, opened the window, and faced Jerusalem and prayed. Faced? What was this man in Babylon turning towards Jerusalem and praying for? Because the precedent was set up in 1 Kings chapter 8 when Melech Shlomo said, wherever they are in the world, if they turn and face this land, the city that you have chosen out of all our tribes to put your name there and pray, would you hear their prayers from the heavens? Sometimes, Moreh, I'm going in the midst of other Israelites, and when it's time to pray, I say, we're going to face the land of Israel. We're not Muslims. We don't face the east. We turn in the direction of the land of Israel, wherever we are on the planet, because that's a part of the prayer formula, if you will. I'm not saying that if you don't face the land, face Jerusalem, your prayer is not going to be whole. But if you read all of 1 Kings chapter 8, that's what Melech Shlomo laid out. And for some reason, this righteous man, Daniel, believed it. So we clearly see, right before he is arrested and thrown in the lion's den, the charge was praying towards his Elohim, facing the land of Israel, seeing Jerusalem, and there wasn't even a temple, but Yerushalayim was still the focus. Did y'all hear what I said? Did you hear me? It's in the text. Let's go further. Go ahead, Moreh, finish reading that up to verse 36, please. All
right.
Well, actually, Moreh, let's just skip. Go right to verse 36. This is just further confirmation. We really need everything in the middle. Go ahead.
Okay. Verse 36. Mm-hmm. Yet to his son I will give one tribe, that David, my servant, may always have a lamp before me in Jerusalem, the city where I have chosen to put my name.
Let us now go to Exodus or Shemot chapter 12. We are going to read bit by bit verses 1 through 28. But we're about to do some serious breakdown, brothers and sisters. I don't care what version you got in front of you. I care if you are a Hebrew who says he or she is an Israelite. I am subject to the rules of thumb of the Hebrew language. I can't come into the language and just say, well, this is what it's going to say for me because what we teach over here, this is what it means to us. Well, I would just ask people, what are your resources? What's the yardstick? What's the standard by which you define what is accurate, what is inaccurate in terms of the Hebrew language? Just because you're Hebrew, because Abraham, Yitzchak, and Israel were Hebrews, don't mean nothing. You got to actually apply yourself devotedly and objectively to learn the language. So we are in Shemot, Exodus chapter 12. Okay. Moreh, could you read us from verse 1 to verse 3 and just pause at the end of verse 3, please?
Yes. Yahuwah said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, this month shall be for you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year for you. Tell all the congregation of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, every man should take a lamb according to their father's houses, a lamb for a household.
Let's pause for a second. Everybody in your text, by the time we have finished the body of verse 3, notice it says that in this month, which becomes known as Ha'abib, though many people refer to it as Abib, no. Hebrew, by chapter 13, when you see the word A-B-I-B, in Hebrew it says Ha'abib. Abib is an agricultural state, an agricultural condition of a particular grain called se'orah or barley. It's a state of maturation, not fully mature, but mature enough that at a certain time in the first month, it picked. Because in Goshen, there was no hail that fell, and there were no locusts to eat what the hail did not destroy. So now, something has to be done on the 10th day of Ha'abib of the first month. It says, lamb, this is in Egypt now, everyone according to the house. All right, Moreh, could you take us, please? Verse 4 through 6. 4 through 6.
And if the household is too small for a lamb, then he and his nearest neighbor shall take, according to the number of persons, according to what each can eat, you shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male, 1 year old. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats. And you shall keep it until the 14th day of this month, when the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill their lambs at twilight.
Now, we get into something. Let's rehash. So now, based on the size of the household, that determines the size of the lamb, right? Okay. Remember, the goal was to put the blood of the lamb or the goat on the doorpost to protect everybody on the opposite side inside the house from the destroyer, the one that was going to kill the firstborn. Y'all follow? But it had to be without physical defect, male, 1 year old, sheep or goats, right? Notice it says in verse 6. In English, it says keep. It says, got it on the 10th day, it's got to be guarded up until the 14th day. Notice now, everybody look up here on the board. This is your precedent. Precedent. Can somebody do me a favor go online and find the definition of the word precedent. I submit to you, this is the first time the mind of Yah is revealed on this subject. I am a student of precedent, meaning back to my 4 ways of studying: topic, content, context, application. I mean by precedent, I want to see the first thing spoken, if it's a biblical subject, by the person or Yah on the subject. What is the first thing? When is the first time said subject is spoken about? Then the body of it, what's been said. So what's said now the second time? If it's something said in Torah, a Torah 20 times, I am responsible to read all 20 areas. Because the first place is the precedent. The middle might be the development or ongoing development. And the last place, if it's Yah that spoke about it, Yah might now say this in summary. So the first time you see this subject is Shemot 12. The last time you're going to see this is Deuteronomy chapter 16. So can somebody look up for me? Okay, hidden in plain sight. An earlier event or action that is regarded as an example or guide to be considered considered in subsequent or similar circumstances. How does that sound to you, Moreh? Like an accurate definition of precedent?
That sounds like an accurate definition. That's what I had pulled up on my phone right here if you needed me to read it. So that's it.
Okay.
Thank you, hidden in plain sight.
See, so do y'all understand? Moreh NuriYahu, as a Torah Talmud or Torah student, what I want to make sure is that I understand everything Yah said first on the subject or the precedent. Okay? So now, we're going to deconstruct, then reconstruct verse 6. I want you all to take 1 minute, 60 seconds, and reread your verse 6. All Hebrew readers and those with understanding, tell me if I'm making this up. Okay? So again, we are in chapter 12 of Shemot. We're looking at verse 6. We're about to really do some deconstruction, break down, and put it back together. The English is, when I tell you this English piece had us so confused for years, this English has had Israelites confused generations before any of us knew. How do I know? Because the traditional understanding that was passed down to us was reflective of that confusion, because they didn't understand the Hebrew for some reason. Some didn't even want to deal with it. Others just, I guess, didn't have the resource they may have wanted to. They did the best they could with what they understood. Okay? So in chapter 12, verse 6, give me a second to find it. So listen to this. I'm going to say this slowly. Okay? In Hebrew, this is what it says. وَهَيَا لَكَمْ لَمِشْمَرِتْ عَدْ أَرْبَعَ عَشَرَ يَوْمَ لَخُدَشْ هَذَا وَشَكَتُ أُوتُ كَلْ كَهَلْ عَدَاتِ Yisrael. What? Bein ha'arba'im. This is saying that the lamb or the goat had to be kept up to 3 p.m. or the 9th hour of the day. How do I know this? Because this in Hebrew. Okay? Where it might say till twilight or some other nonsense up to the evening, and you got Israelites debating with other folk about, man, even EVEN mean this. And now, what does it say in Hebrew? Have you done any research? Bein ha'arba'im means between between the evenings. Now I'm going to give you something I know because I've been to the land of Israel 12 times. Out of those 12 times, I think I've been in Israel, the land, at least 4 or 5 times during this time of year that the text is talking about. Between the evenings, okay? What does that mean? What is the 9th hour of the day? Very simple. So here's the clock, okay? 6th hour, 9th hour, 12th hour, okay? In our culture, there's a concept of 2 evening periods. A first evening period, okay, starts at noon, 12 p.m., and lasts until 3 p.m. of the 9th hour. The second evening period starts at 3 p.m. and lasts until 6 p.m. or sunset fully during that time of year, in that part of northeastern Africa or the land of Israel. So between the evenings means this is the time, 3 p.m. of the 9th hour of the day. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 6 a.m. sunrise. So 1, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 6 hours from sunrise, 12 p.m. 1, 2, 3, 9 hours from sunrise in our part of the world during that time of the year. This is when the lamb, the goats, had to be killed in Egypt. But this is your precedent for everything done thereafter. And you're going to see that. Is everybody with me so far? Okay. Yes, no, maybe so. I know that's a lot. I'm not expecting you to fully understand that. For those that need a little bit more, we'll talk about that at the end of this presentation. Okay? I don't see nobody saying anything. We still up and running, Moreh? Everything's good?
Everything's good. Remember that
Gotcha,
it
gotcha.
still have that like 20-second delay.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So
They're replying.
all right. Next question. So, Moreh Amir, help me, my brother. Everything
Yes,
so far that we've seen constitutes 2 spelled out dates. The 10th day of the first month and the 14th day of the first month. That's all we've seen so far, right?
that is correct.
Okay. It's a question for everybody. Have you seen unleavened bread eaten, bitter herbs eaten on or by the 14th day? Has anybody seen such a thing even mentioned? But what you have seen is the securing of the animal on the 10th day, guarded, kept up until the 14th day, and the command to kill it at a certain time on the 14th day. Do you see anything mentioned called unleavened bread? You see the word feast being mentioned. I'll be quiet. I'm very curious. Does anybody see anything called the Feast of Unleavened Bread? Remember it said, and the Feast of Unleavened Bread was coming, which is called the Passover. Called Passover by who? I don't see in Torah or the Feast of Unleavened Bread Passover. That's a tradition the Israelites had no problem adopting. Okay? So let's go further. Moreh, take us from verse 7 up to verse 15, if you would. And I'll be stopping you at certain strategic places, Moreh, please.
Not a problem. Then they shall take some of the blood and put it on 2 doorposts and in the lintel of the houses in which they eat it. They shall eat the flesh that night, roasted on the fire.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry, Moreh. I forgot. Help me understand. Since there's a lot of debate amongst many Israelites about when the true day starts and everything. So, didn't we see Moreh in verse 6 where it talked about this lamb, this goat had to be killed at a certain time during the evening? But what you just read, it says something about the flesh now is going to be eaten in a night, which means if we've gone from killing the animal to night, that means we've gone to a new day. Would that be fair to say?
That's a fair assessment.
My goodness. Does everybody see that? I mean, I had to stop the brother before because I forgot about that part. This is so important, you all, because if we don't understand the basics, the foundations, all this other commentary and these opinions that a lot of us have, it won't matter. Remember, this is your precedent. Does everybody see that? I know we got 15 to 20 maybe plus second audio delay, so I'm going to give you a second. All right. Good enough for me. So now, Moreh, please, if you wouldn't mind, reread verse 8 and continue, please.
They shall eat the flesh that night, roasted on the fire, with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They shall eat it. Do not eat any of it raw or boiled in water, but roast it, its head with its legs and its inner parts. And you shall let none of it remain until the morning. Anything that remains until the morning, you shall burn.
Let me pause you, Moreh, if I could. This is what I was telling you all. My first one, I took it upon myself to volunteer to go and burn it. My goodness. On the west side of Chicago. I mean, we could have been cited for fire hazard because I'm going to tell you, it's like the fire from the Father had descended. I got fluid, charcoal fluid, poured it on 100 plus pounds of meat on the ground, trying to burn it. Zeal, us, but not according to knowledge. We thought we understood, but we did not. And for us, it was the authenticity, Moreh. We got an actual lamb. This thing was killed. We'd have done this according to our count, and our whole count and everything was off. We found out that some years later. But we did our best.
Yeah.
But we're breaking Torah by trying to keep something that we're commanded to do a certain way. And there's no way around it. There's no way around it. Now, Moreh just read where it said the entire animal in verse 9. Is that what it said, Moreh?
Yes.
Because, see, I know in Georgia, because, see, that's where I used to live, they got Kroger's in Georgia. And, boy, Israelites be finding land in all kind of places. Plus, I know we got farmers. Brothers be buying lambs from farmers and everything in Georgia. Again, doing based on what we understand, we do what we call our best at that particular time. But then what about these lamb chops, Moreh? He didn't say you could have a lamb chop, special portion, choice cut. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He said the whole thing. He didn't say nothing about you could have some lamb chops left over and you're going to take that to work when you go back to work.
That's crazy.
But that's how some of us get down. But brothers say you can't have nothing left. Well, the Most High would want me to throw the meat away. Okay. All
so
right.
what if you cook the lamb chops and then you burn whatever remaining lamb chops you got left? What about that?
I'm going to read what you just read, Moreh. Eat it not raw nor sodded at all with fire,
Okay.
but roast with fire his head, his legs, and the entrails and intestines thereof. So even though somebody would have burned the lamb chops, the lamb chop is a portion. The animal, we were told, had to be whole. That means you've added. Remember we read earlier? You shall not add. You shall not diminish, take away. Are y'all beginning to see? We ain't supposed to do none of that. You can't tweak Torah to mesh your understanding of it. Either you understand, and if it's something this serious, stay away from it until you're blessed with understanding. Don't follow the crowd. This is much too important in the eyes of Yah to be messing around with. Even sincere, but you could be sincere wrong. And again, I'm going to talk to you leaders. And I wish I could see some of y'all face to face, because some folk will probably watch this, after, because they can't join it right now. But you got to ask yourself, are you so sure your understanding is in sync with Torah? Or have you tried to find a reason to put some type of spiritual something on it to justify adding or taking away from what Yah commanded? I was there, read through it. Watch this. All right, Moreh, could you take this, if you don't mind, verse 11 through, I think I told you, 15, please.
In this manner you shall eat it, with your belt fastened, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is Yahuwah's Passover. For I will pass through the...
Now, this is what it says in Hebrew in verse 11. Please, again, for those who can read the language, check me on this. It says in verse 11, where English says it is the Lord's Passover, Hebrew says Pesach hu la. Pesach, this is the first time that we see in Torah that word. Pesach. Pesach hu la. So, Moreh, did I miss something here? It says in verse 11 that this Pesach or Passover belongs to Yah. That's what it said.
That is what it says.
So if I'm not mistaken, you all, that means that Yah takes this serious. How we handle this? Would you all agree or disagree?
I would agree.
It is only Yah's tender mercies that we have not died in our ignorance or our foolishness or our self-aggrandizement, arrogant self-righteousness. Because many people think, well, you know what, I ain't got to do nothing, so I'm going to do just what I want to. Okay, show you right. You'll die in your sins. Because I'm going to tell you right now, to do this outside the order that Yah set up means you are sinning, even if you didn't know you are. Yeah, we have an advocate for that sin, but that means you got to do teshuvah, that 180-degree turn away from disobedience through ignorance, or even if you knew better and you decided not to do it, okay, now you decide to do it. There we go, teshuvah. 180-degree turn away from the area of now recognized, acknowledged disobedience. Father, I didn't know no better. I'm staying away from that. I'm leaving that alone. Because the order you set up, I cannot follow that order. I'm leaving that alone. So now, 12 through 15. Go ahead, Moreh, please.
For I will pass through the land of Egypt that night, and I will strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and on all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am Yahuwah. The blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are, and when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague will befall before you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt.
All right, you stop right there, Moreh?
Okay.
In English, Moreh just read, I will pass over you. In Hebrew readers, it says, U pasati alechem. Upasakti. Y'all hear something sound like Pesach? Upasakti. I will pass over you. So Passover in its primary context means skipping over, okay? Then we're going to see it means something else. So now, let me read this to you. I wrote this down as a note for myself. Notice thus far, it's an event of sparing everyone that had the blood of the lamb or the goat on the doorpost. But it is definitely, most definitely something else. All right, Moreh, could you, verse 14, 15, please? Fourteen, please. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, no, please forgive me. Because I thought you were finished. Please go ahead. Go ahead. That was in the. So I want you all to look at that verse 14 very curiously. See, I know Moreh NuriYahu he didn't know what he's talking about because Moreh Amir is saying you keep it as a feast of Yah throughout your generations. Keep it by a feast. Keep it as a feast by ordinance forever. See, we free y'all. No, you not. No, you ain't. We in deeper trouble. So now, look at that verse slowly. Verse 14, y'all. Hebrew readers, what does it say there? When it says forever, you should see this word in Hebrew. Everybody type this word. O-L-A-M. Please. Type that word for me. Moreh, are you muted? Is your mic muted?
It's back on now.
Oh, okay. Everybody type that word. Olam. O-L-A-M. Olam has two different meanings. The primary meaning is forever. Always. Okay? Let's just keep it like that. Keep it simple for now. Okay? Always. Through eternity. Okay? Did you notice? Take a look at that verse again. In verse 14, you see the word feast. That is the Hebrew word chag. And now we are obviously in the 15th day. The 15th day begins per this Chag HaMatzot, or the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So we've seen 3 dates so far. 10th day of the first month, 14th day of the first month, now 15th day. Back to the precedent in Mizraim, when the night came, they're in the 15th day, they began to eat the bitter herbs, the lamb, the goat, the unleavened bread. But for them, because they were leaving in the morning of the 15th day, they had to be dressed. Sandals on their feet. When it says loin girded, that just means fully dressed. Staff in hand. Eat it in haste. Plain and simple. Because y'all going to be leaving in some hours after the 10th plague happens. Okay? So, here's my question to you all. Here we go. When is not forever? I want you all to listen to me carefully. Yes, it says forever. Yes, it says throughout your generations. Wouldn't that generation throughout future them be us? Yep. Wouldn't that forever include us? Yep. But when is forever not forever? Can somebody help me out? Because where it says also ordinance or statute forever, that word ordinance is kukat. It means simply it's a regulation, something you're being governed by. So statute and ordinance in English is one Hebrew word, kukat. Kukat. Okay? I need some help. Moreh, can you help them out? When is forever, is not a trick question. When is forever not forever?
Forever can be a age. It can be conditional according to specific circumstances, such as like the curses. And it says that's going to be upon us forever. But we know if we turn, then these curses would no longer apply. But as you are in a certain circumstance, living a certain kind of way, and a lack of obedience, these curses will be in effect for this unforeseen duration.
Did y'all hear what he said? That is exactly right. How do you know it's exactly right? Let us go to Deuteronomy, Devarim 28, 45 through 48. Don't y'all just love chapter and verse, going through it, and you shall teach them diligently as they rise in the morning, as they walk by the way, before they lay down at night. An environment conducive to understanding how to obey Yah in every facet of our life. The majority of the Israelite world, we don't have that now. Again, however well-meaning or sincere many of us leaders are, we don't have a proper understanding of this subject. So we are, again, no blame if you're ignorant legitimately. Many of us are sincerely misleading the Father's people. And again, I can look on Facebook, I see people putting arrangements in place right now. Hey, we get ready, send the registration fee in, do this. We've already gotten this. I'm not mocking. I'm not reproaching. I ain't talking about nobody. I ain't got time for that stupidity. Take another look. We started hours ago talking about critical reassessment. You think you know? Devarim, Deuteronomy 28, 45 through 48. And this is what Moreh Amir just said. Let's put some teeth behind it. Moreh, could you read that for us, please?
What verse is that? I was
28, verse 45 through 48.
45. Okay. All these curses shall come upon you and pursue you and overtake you till you are destroyed, because you did not obey the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim to keep his commandments and his statutes that he commanded you. They shall be a sign. Yes.
So I'm a bit confused, everybody. The word destroyed and you are in that verse. The nation of Israel been destroyed as a result of our disobedience, or is destroyed a play on words symbolic of something else, going from one state to another state, like Ezekiel saw us, unrecognizable, a valley of dry bones. So we're not destroyed, are we? But we are in still a state of destruction. We are not in the form that Yah wants us in. So the awakening, again, as many of us call it, has to be in stages, because it will allow growth and development. In the period of growth and development, there must be a recognition of areas of error that lead to growth and genuine development. Go ahead, Moreh, verse 46.
Verse 46. They shall be a sign and a wonder against you and your offspring forever.
Let's pause right there, Moreh.
Yes.
Guess what it says in Hebrew, but it doesn't say in English. Where it says in English, upon your seed forever, in Hebrew it says this, Ad Olam. Guess what that means? Ad Olam, Ad means until or by, saying that the condition called curse for the nation shall exist until or by something, an event or time. Does everybody understand what I just said? In Hebrew, where it says, the curses shall be upon you for a sign and a wonder, and upon your seed forever. If forever means what the Gentile, Greco-Roman, Gentile, European world, the Western world has taught us, the descendants of slaves, it means, then forever is perpetuity. There is no going back. There is nothing that can stop the curses. Go ahead, Moreh, 47, 48.
Because you did not serve Yahuwah your Elohim with joyfulness and gladness of heart, because of the abundance of all things. Therefore, you shall serve your enemies, whom Yahuwah will send against you, in hunger and thirst, in nakedness and lacking everything. And he will put a yoke of iron on your neck until he has destroyed you. Verse 49.
That's it.
Okay.
No. Do y'all see the word destroyed is used again? But we say we are the true children of Israel. So have you noticed that destroyed is symbolic, a play on word? You will be now degenerated, taken from that place of high esteem, head, tail. The Father promised that as long as the heavens above got the sun, moon, and stars, and the earth below exists, so shall the house of Israel abide or exist before him. Well, how is he going to say that? But before that, he said destroyed. That means taken from a state to another state. That is what is reflected again in Ezekiel 37. When is forever, not forever, when we do something to change. So let's put the whole thing together, Moreh. So now, let's go to Deuteronomy 30, verse 1, 2, and 3. If the curse is being upon us forever was going to be the forever state of our people, why do y'all tell us this? So forever gets turned to a certain amount of time when you stop doing something. Exodus. So forever throughout all your generations was meant for all the time in your dwelling places, but it stopped because you started doing something. Are y'all with me? So, feast of unleavened bread, all your generations, all your dwellings, forever. The curses, result of disobedience, interrupted the forever. The curses on you and your seed forever. Obedience interrupts curses and forever and changes our condition. Moreh, chapter 31 through 3, if you would.
And when all these things come upon you, the blessing and the curse which I have set before you, and you call them to mind among all the nations where Yahuwah your Elohim has driven you, and return to Yahuwah.
So the criteria is for forever to not be forever. Remember, when it's forever, not forever, to stop perpetuity into infinite time for the children of Israel. All we got to do is call to mind the blessings and curses among all the nations Yah has driven us, and not just think about them. What does it say, verse 2, Moreh?
And return to Yahuwah your Elohim, you and your children, and obey his voice in all that I command you today, with all your heart and with all your soul. Then,
Yes, go
Then
ahead, please.
Yahuwah your Elohim will restore your fortunes and have mercy on you, and he will gather you from all the peoples where Yahuwah your Elohim has scattered you.
Does this make sense? So let me give the illustration again.
All right, look like we're having technical difficulties. He dropped off. Give us 1 second.
Hey yo, Joe, you're a legend. I mean Jesus all the way.
Yo, I don't know what's wrong with Spotify. That thing wilding. I just tried to play Zamar, and it skipped to a song talk about Jesus. We don't do that here. Moreh NuriYahu, can you hear me? We're working on his connection. His camera is, I can see him on the other software. For some reason, it's not showing up in this presentation. Give us 1 second. While we wait for this, I hope you understand that when I was putting this stuff out here, and I know he was putting it out, we said this was going to be very comprehensive, very comprehensive. And the way that he teaches, he really tries to set the stage to where there's no way to like counter with, you know, euphemism, spirituality, or anything like that. Like let's deal with what the text actually says. Moreh NuriYahu, can you hear me? I cannot hear you.
Okay.
How about now? Can y'all hear Moreh NuriYahu? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear him. Moreh, can you say something?
Yeah, mic check, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I hear you clearly. Okay, I think I know what's wrong with the camera. Give me 1 second. Okay, Moreh, you are back.
All right. Everyone, type 1, please, if you can hear me. Again, we're going to push through as best we can. We're dealing with technology. And Moreh, you can still hear me? You can see me? Hold on. Yeah. I don't know what it is. Just every setting is saying that they have been. Just in service, and I mean, what can we do?
Go ahead, Moreh. See, go ahead and say something.
How do I say that? Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Hmm.
Yeah, I have no idea why. Because nothing's changed here.
Do you have 2 devices on? Like, do you have YouTube up on your phone?
I do, but it's not playing.
Is somehow, do you have your camera audio and your laptop audio?
Let me double check, because that's what I was just checking, but no. No, the only audio is from the camera, and the audio and video is from the camera. All right, how do I sound now? I didn't do anything. I can't hear you now, Moreh. I don't hear you.
How about now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. What we're going to do is we're going to stop the stream because that echo is not going to work. So we're going to stop the stream, and we're going to start it back up, and we will continue this. We are getting into it, so we gotta finish what we started.
That's right. All right, I'll take it down.
All right. So give us about 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. You should get a notification saying that the live stream has returned if you have subscribed. If not, just check back in about 5 minutes. This is the important part of the lesson. This is really important. So we'll get with y'all very soon.